Hi, I'm Adam. This is my 1978 GMC pickup truck. So the way this PCV is going to work is it'll take the crankcase gases and recirculate them into the combustion system. By taking a look at this valve here, it'll take the gases out of this side of the head up through this pipe and then down into the lower part of the carburetor, down to there just below the venturis to suck it back into your air intake, then down into the combustion chamber there. You've also got a vent on the other side that does something similar, but it does not have a valve in it. It comes up through a filter in here, through that filter that would be normally on, but it would come through this filter here back into basically what would be like an air intake area right before the filter. Your filter would be sitting here, and then it would go in through the top of the carburetor down into the venturi assembly. Anyway, that's how the PCV system works on this. Super simple. Now, some of the things you might notice on this truck, if you have a code, say like a 175 code, 172 code, or an 0300, you know, if this truck actually had those codes. This one doesn't, it's old school. But if you had those codes, some of the things you'd start noticing once you had a rich engine and a misfire is obviously poor driving, poor gas mileage just sort of go out the window, and you'd have a lot of noises happening. So the first thing you'd want to do is obviously stop at a garage or somewhere where you can pull over and probably pull one or two spark plugs once it's cooled down enough to be able to handle them. And take a look at the color. If you notice that it's completely black and all sooty, then you'd probably most likely definitely be burning rich. If you looked at it and it was white, you'd notice it was running lean. So again, if you noticed that you had those codes saying it was too rich, you'd most likely have a black spark plug, so you know it's running rich. The next thing I'd check would then be going through the air filter, so again this guy here, and seeing if it's white or seeing if it's all clogged. This guy's pretty good. It's seen some use, so this would normally be white, but it's a little on the dark side, a little on the tan color, so it's seen some life, right? And this would just be from spots of oil or whatnot coming off. Again, old truck. Anyway, so checking that, you notice it's clean and clear. You check any other filters related to your PCV system, like this guy here. And again, that guy's pretty clean. Nothing too clogged up there, right? So you've checked those. You check the fuel filter on this guy, which is right down in here. Again, you'd pull that out. I would, but I really don't want to get fuel everywhere. But I did this yesterday, so I happen to know that guy is clean. So again, checking all that, knowing that that's all good, but still having those rich codes. Next thing I do would be starting to look at possibly the PCV system, seeing if it's broken. Now I happen to have a spare valve here, because like I said, I went through and did all these checks yesterday. And noticed that this guy, the spring is actually quite weak on it. So the way to test that is, first of all, take it out, see if it rattles. This guy does rattle, but it's got a bit of a weak spring on it, okay? So it rattles, it's good. Gave it a bit of a clean just to make sure everything's all good, works well. Next thing you do is you start taking it, you take it out like this guy. Right, this is the new one. Sit your thumb here, see if it creates a bit of a vacuum to pull that valve up, and then as you take it off after about a minute, you should notice just a tiny bit of as the spring drops back down. With mine, I noticed that I did that as a solid thud, and as soon as I put my hand here, I could feel the spring immediately shoot up. So I knew the spring was pretty shot on it. So I went ahead and replaced that. That way, it's not just completely open and basically shoving a whole bunch of oil and everything through the system. Also, that pipe was incredibly oily. This was oily. That was oily. So again, those are some pretty telltale signs that there's some oil coming into the engine somewhere. PCV system's a great way to check that. Once that's done, Again, clean it, give it a bit of a drive. If you have codes, clear them, see if it clears up. And if you do notice that you have a misfire, again, check all the plugs, and if they are black, clean them. Don't just put them back in, clean them. So a bit of brake clean goes a long way there. Put them back in, make sure the torque to spec, make sure they're all in the right spot, make sure your ignition coils, or in this case plug wires, are all set in the right spot. Give it a bit of a drive and see if the code disappears once you've cleared it. And if it does, great. If not, go through this procedure again. Make sure everything's clean. Check the hoses, one on this side, one on that side. Go through the filters and see how that goes. But that's the PCV system diagnosis on this truck.